Good afternoon, YouTube. Welcome to Fair Fail Productions. So today we're going to be doing a little bit of a review of the Arctic Leopard EXE 880. So we've had some craziness going on with the E-Ride Pro SS, which we'll have some other videos on, and that seems to be kind of like the big hit in the community right now. But in my opinion, the best thing to come to the electric market is Arctic Leopard. Arctic Leopard really truthfully has been one of the most, I don't know, the bike is really an awesome machine. It's a real true enduro, and it shows what can come out of these companies in China. It also shows the quality that comes out of there, and not to mention the power, the refinement, and a lot of other things. So we're going to talk about the EXE 880 today. Okay, so first and foremost, let's get some bullshit out of the way right here. The Arctic Leopard EXE series is a full-size enduro and chassis. This is not a small toy electric dirt bike. This is not, something that you wouldn't ride yourself. At the end of the day, the EXE 880 is the equivalent to a freaking 450, but there's a lot more to the story. In a lot of ways, it's more like a 302-stroke. And there's a lot of complication to the whole thing. We'll get into more and more. But the bike overall is a really sweet enduro platform that plays with the big boys, so to speak. And it's a lot of fun, especially as just a trail bike. Its price starts at $11,000. It is not a cheap bike, and nor does it feel like it's a cheap bike, nor does it look like a cheap bike. And it definitely puts down the balls more so than any of our 302 strokes as far as power goes. So, I'm very impressed. And then for those of you who don't watch videos to their full length, Charged Cycle Works already has a range video that's over 50 miles of riding through sand, riding hard, and everything else. So this is a bike that really, in my opinion, it performs better than the Stark Varg. And that's why we worked with Arctic Leopard early on. And, the bike hasn't been totally perfect. We'll talk about some of that too. But overall, compared to the other big brands out there, Beta, KTM, and whoever else, I think they stand actually quite good with those bikes. So first and foremost, let's just talk about the chassis as a whole. And I'm going to combine the frame, the forks, and the rear suspension all in this whole, thought here. Very, very good. The suspension is pretty stiff out of the gate. My opinion of that is, for most harder enduro stuff, I tend to enjoy a little bit softer suspension. Of course, if you're going to be pushing through at a good pace, this suspension is quite good. In fact, it's pretty comparable to a KYB setup on my Riehu. The Riehu has DLC-coated forks and has a very high-tier KYB setup, very custom setup. And I feel like the Arctic Leopard actually does very well. Now, we're going to soften it up a little bit more. I had to get used to it. It was a little hard-hitting, in my opinion. But for the most part, I'm very happy with it. It performs better than many other bikes out there. And of course, it's China. So, who knows who they exactly copied in this particular instance. But so far, pretty impressed with the suspension. Does very well. I think it's comparable to most other enduros out there. The frame itself is quite good too. In fact, it's a pretty beefy frame for its weight. So these bikes come totally disassembled right now. They come as essentially they're air freighting them from China. So to do that, they have to come fully disassembled. So we build these bikes from the ground up, more or less. And that's kind of a good thing because I can grease absolutely everything. I can torque stuff down. I know that we've done a good job. So I'm not really super mad about that aspect. But the frame itself has very good welds. It feels very sturdy. It feels like there's very little flex to the entire frame, but just enough to where it's not going to be rigid and break. So, I think as an enduro, it's very good. As a motocross, I feel like it's probably a little bit too much flex, that is. But I think those are two very different items, and this bike is more intended to be an enduro and a trail bike than it is the opposite side with motocross. And just as a side note, it is a fully adjustable suspension, rebound, compression, all that stuff. So, you get to kind of dial in the forks quite a bit as you would with any other bike. So there's no concern there. Okay, so next, let's talk about the I don't know, horsepower output, or however they want to equate the 40 plus kilowatts that come out of this bike. So this bike on paper makes 52, 53 horsepower equivalent. So you think of a top end, a 302 stroke, or damn near a 450. That's its maximum and peak power. You don't have to ride at that level all the time, of course. But yes, definitely, it is one of the most powerful bikes I think I've ever been on, and it can scare the ever living shit out of you if you want it to. And it's an absolute blast in most things. And I had to learn how to go from D2 to D3, working on the highest end and really understanding how the bike performs. The great thing that people don't understand about electric motos is that you can customize it to any way you want to ride. And what I mean is like, if you don't want to ride at 40 plus kilowatts or whatever else, you can turn that power down. You can adjust the throttle curves. You can adjust all kinds of things on these bikes. And that makes it really awesome, because if you want to ride it like you would a 250, go for it. You can do that. If you want to ride it like it's a 450, then you can jack it up and ride it like it's a 450. So that's what makes these bikes a lot of fun. So I think overall you really have to look at, these are not a normal type of bike, and you get a lot more customizability, even down to how much engine braking do you want. So you can set that to 25 amps, 0 amps, 50 amps, 75 or 100 amps on this bike. And you really get whatever you want as far as engine braking, as far as power output, all that fun stuff. So the electronic left-hand brake is also another thing that I really enjoy. I like that quite a bit. It uses like a regen type brake on that control, or hand control, and I love it. That's one of my favorite things. So you don't even need the mechanical rear brake at that point. So I do want it to be a little bit more progressive. I think there's some work to be done on this bike, but overall, kind of a home run in my opinion. So let's look at kind of the elephant in the room along with some of the others, which is range, right? So Electric Cycle Rider just did a 50 plus mile range test with the Arctic Leopard, beating out the Stark Varg, which ran at a juice at like 46 miles. So 50 plus miles is going to be the average probably for hard riding, including some sand and some other stuff. So a lot of us average trail riders, is what I consider myself to be. We're probably going to get closer to 60, maybe even more than that. This is a massive 90 volt, 75 amp hour battery. It's a 6.75 kilowatt hour battery. It is a huge battery, so you get a lot of range out of it, and I'm very impressed with the whole setup. There's full disclosure, there's been some issues with the battery binding with the software and showing the correct percentage on the display, but I expect that's a minor software issue. Also, we're still waiting on the electric clutch, which is a whole nother thing. So we haven't got to test the electric clutch out yet, but we're getting there. Now everybody wants to hate on the electrics, and I understand that. It's new, it's different. People want to, fight for the love of their fucking DRZ 400 from whenever. And I'm just tired of this bullshit of electric versus gas kind of crap and the politics there in between. It's got two wheels and a fucking motor. I'm going to ride it. But so that's kind of where I sit on the EXE. But more than that, it is a good bike and it is good quality. We have seen nothing that shows concern so far that the bike, the chassis, the motor is having problems, or something's going to break or fall apart. I don't want to sell bikes. People will be like, well, you sell those, you're biased for this crap. No, I don't sell bikes that are not something I wouldn't ride myself, so not something I wouldn't test or trust to get me home at the end of the day. We ride these bikes, and ultimately there are any number of a freaking 1,000 brands of Chinese right now that you can buy. And Arctic Leopard, in my opinion, especially with Arctic Leopard USA Pinned Electric, they have done a great job of importing them. They've done a great job of trying to improve the brand, fixing some minor problems. The EXE platform has just been awesome. I don't have any major complaints so far yet, which is cool. That's a good thing to say, especially with a new bike. Riding it up Captain Jack's here, you can't. You can ride it as mild or as hard as you want, and it's such a fun bike. It just tractors up stuff effortless. And even more than that, this is one of the most quiet electrics that I've ever ridden. The Ultra B is so much louder than the EXE 880. It's kind of funny. It's probably because of its jack system drive, but it's so quiet to ride anywhere. It's so you can concentrate on the little things for handling and pushing the bike and standing it up. And that brings me to the next thing is like this bike weighs 240 pounds, but you really don't feel it because the battery and the motor sit so low on the bike. You just do not feel any of that weight sitting there. And that's awesome. I think, there's a little bit of a difference in feeling because there's no rotating mass and so on and so forth. So you have to take one out. You have to understand it. And the range is not as much of a problem as you think it is. Of course, it could be. Now, when I go out camping, am I going to charge it with a generator? No, absolutely shameless. I don't give a shit because, you know what? I would have burned that 2 or 3 gallons of gas anyway in a freaking gas bike. So do you think I give a crap about having to charge the battery? No. Now, if you don't have that kind of stuff, I understand, a gas bike's going to work better for you. No problems. I totally get it. So there's some things to consider there. Now, 11 grand is a lot of money for a China bike. I guess I wrap my head around that. But let's understand that these factories are some of the factories that are producing BMW's motorcycles and engines and some other stuff. So China produces a lot more than you might imagine, and the quality can be as high or as low as you want it to be. I think at this price point, you really get a lot for your money. You also get something that nobody else has, which is a good, hard enduro bike with lots of power and a very capable suspension. So, we're going to work with this brand. The EXs by far are going to be more popular than the EXEs. I get that. Trying to convert over the purest dirt bikers is going to be an uphill battle for years and years. But I will probably be adding one of these to my own personal stable here soon. And it's not because I sell these. It's not because I get a discount. It's not because of anything else. I genuinely enjoyed riding this bike up Captain Jack's and had a lot of fun doing it. And that's the glory of electric bikes. You don't need a clutch. You don't need extra brakes or whatever other crap. It's a simple machine. There's nothing else to really go wrong on these bikes. And you know what? You give it a little throttle, it gets up stuff. The bike just plows on up hills. The throttle and control that you have, the throttle mapping is phenomenal on this bike. You can just twist your way through it, feel it out, feel the traction that you have, get it up the hill. Man, I tell you what, I think I'm just really impressed with the bike overall. And I'm a huge fan of my two-strokes, don't get me wrong. But the electric has definitely taken it up a notch with the Arctic Leopard. And I'm not mad about it. Now, it's not perfect, like I kind of said earlier, so we're waiting on some updates for the E-clutch. There's a few other bugs in there, but overall, the bike is fully functional, fully rideable, for sure. And where do you really go wrong with this platform? I haven't found it yet. We're going to continue to ride it, see if we break something, see if something comes apart. So some things that I would like to see for the platform, which I know there might be some crossovers from Yamaha/Honda. We'll have to see, but we need rotor protection. We need a better skid plate for sure underneath. There's a few things that I would like to see on the bike, but I wanted to rant about this thing because I really loved riding it. And this is just a raw, footage and raw thoughts of what I thought of the Arctic Leopard. It's a lot of fun. And we built this bike from the ground up, and we will continue to for our customers and do the best we can. But I'm impressed with the quality. I'm impressed with how Arctic Leopard USA is overcoming international shipping problems. The company's standing behind their products. They're bringing parts in. So, yeah, this is going to be a bike here to stay, and it definitely is a serious contender for everything that we're going to want to do. But yeah, so let me know what you think of the Arctic Leopard in the comments below. And you know what? We'll catch you on the next one. Ferret Face out.